What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk of the Tundra, your Green Bay Packers podcast, a proud partner of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and the Eurostep Podcast Network. As always, I am your host, Numac, and joining me once again for a preview of the Atlanta Falcons game this week is my co-host, Jordan Tresky. Jordan, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing well, gearing up. We're back at it. Apparently, the NFL season is not just one game. That's what I was told.
I'm happy it's not. I'm happy we
I'm
got
happy it's
16 more of
not.
these.
I apparently the Bears have decided to forfeit the rest of the season.
Do you blame them?
Breaking news. No.
No,
Packers are going to soldier on
I guess so.
field.
Yeah, briefly the Bears. Wow. Everything coming out of Chicago this week is, in a Packers point of view, fantastic. Everything else, a little sussy.
Pretty remarkable. It was week one.
I saw today that the owner had an impromptu meeting with the GM and head coach. That's never good week one.
No. No.
The things
Not
you
at all.
don't like to see as a Bears fan.
Second year head coach. I know it's Bears Packers and it just brings out feelings amongst at least the fan base that wants to get back into it. You know, the Packers were in this position a long time ago. I know it's been a very long time ago since we felt this way.
Probably since
But
Favre started.
that's when it started to flip. But yeah, that's gnarly. That's really crazy.
Yeah. Any
Uh,
who's will be.
yes.
Bears week is done. We're on to Falcons week. I cannot stand you. The 1-0 Atlanta Falcons, who had made life absolutely miserable for number one overall pick Bryce Young last week, as Falcons beat the Panthers at home behind two interceptions from Bryce Young. Not good ones either. But before we get into that, I forgot we cannot wrap up Bears week because we have cheeses to give out. What am I thinking? We have cheese to give out, of course. So we have a few candidates. And I know we only have three on the dock here, Jordan, but I want to.
We should also explain to the listeners.
Yep.
Cheese board is going to be a little different this year. We're making it harder on ourselves, as evidenced by our behind the scenes discussions this week. We're picking top three
Yep.
players.
No more.
Top three.
No more long laundry lists of cheeses for players. Ultimately, just picking three, similar to the hockey stars of the game, but it's not going to be
Yes.
tiered like one star, 2-star, 3-star. It'll just be one cheese for the top three players each week. And goddamn, did the Packers make it hard on us this week? Because there's more than three that are probably deserving.
Yes. There was some discussion on plenty. Certainly on the defensive side of the ball, there's a lot of great candidates. I will say, probably the definitive lock, if we can reveal the first one,
Yep,
Aaron Jones.
for sure. We both agreed on that one. For
Without a doubt.
127 total yards and 2 touchdowns. The absolute heart and soul of this team last week, as they pretty much were en route to pretty much stomping the Bears into the ground. So no doubts there, no second questions there. Aaron Jones, the first recipient of a cheese this week.
28 snaps, too, which makes his
That's
performance
crazy.
127 yards, 41 rushing yards, 86 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, 1 receiving yards, or touchdown. That makes it even more remarkable is that he was that efficient, that explosive, that lethal with his stallions, and basically played half the game.
Right.
And if you consider half of the snaps that he played, they didn't give him the ball. So yeah, the Aaron Jones lock of the week, at least offensively, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. I guess I want to say this. I want to say second lock because there was discussion, but we both came into agreement on our second one with Devontae Wyatt, right? Like that was kind of our status quo here. 5 tackles,
Yes.
3 combined, 2 tackles for a loss, 1.5 sacks, and 6 pressures via PFF. I'm gonna give him credit for one forced fumble because
Yes, I thought he did, and I checked both PFF and Pro Football Reference, the one of the two of the best tools that you'll ever
yeah.
find. Kenny Clark got credit for the forced fumble, not Devontae Wyatt,
See,
because there's the shared sack where that's where it's like, what? I don't
right. I'm
know.
not really sure because it looked like maybe they just like super zoomed in as to whose arm swatted the ball away, but maybe it was
Yeah,
different timing on the replay that I saw. It looked like it was for sure Devontae Wyatt's forced fumble that ended up obviously Devontae Wyatt's arm that caused the forced fumble. Sorry, brain was trying to
yeah,
turn the gears there. But yeah, big game from him, especially coming off of his rookie year where he's trying to build up to being that starter alongside Kenny Clark. Great start. Great start for Devontae Wyatt.
yeah. I thought he was reflecting, having a couple days to kind of just relive the glorious week one. Devontae Wyatt was probably the most definitive standout on the line in terms of just getting home constantly. Once they broke open the Bears offensive line, he was getting a ton of pressure. And yeah, that stuff matters. Like there's a lot of other good candidates on the line, especially because Van Ness, Rashawn Gary played like 10 snaps and still like had a crazy
I think he had a
pass
a
rush win
50%
rate.
pass rush win rate, and he played 10 third down
It's crazy.
snaps.
Just crazy. Um Forgetting, I mean, Kenny Clark too. Preston
Yep.
Smith also had a decent game. Like I know we kind
Yep.
of always forget about him, but yeah, Devontae Wyatt, the second cheese.
Yep. Before we get about our third, we should bring out our candidates of who we thought was also going to get one. First and foremost, Jordan Love. We me
It's
and
obvious.
me and Jordan obviously went back and forth as to who was getting this third one, and Jordan Love was the runner up to it. If it wasn't been the guy we picked, it would have been Jordan Love. Ultimately, a great game from or a good game from Jordan Love. Just would have liked to see it all come together for the entire game versus just the second half, which I don't think you can really fault him too much on. Like I think the play calling is more of his fault, not his fault in the first half, with how much they were giving the ball to AJ Dillon. But a couple of missed throws, some just stuff that was out of his control. So no mistakes, which was good. But I think seeing it together for an entire game, plus again the third guy just played a hell of a game, so it's not even really his fault. So I'm trying to think who else we. Um,
Romeo Dobbs, of
yep, he
course,
was.
2 touchdowns. Another guy was limited, but
Yeah,
2 touchdowns, carry the offense, help Jordan Love put in a spectacular performance. Honestly, you could have probably, we didn't really give it that much thought because there's a lot of deserving candidates. You could have looked at David Bakhtiari flipping off Bears fans and blowing kisses, but also like
that's right.
putting in a hell of a performance. Zach Tom, same way. They both graded out really well on PFF.
I think that about covers it.
That might have,
Anders
yeah,
Carlson going Quay
Quay
Walker or
Walker, I think.
Anders Carlson going 100% for his
Hmm.
kicks. So yeah, a lot of good recipients this week or per
Darnell Savage.
Donald Savage. Like again, we could name a lot of people that could have deserved
That's
a
a lot.
cheese. So ultimately, we picked out Russell Douglas for the third cheese this week. 8 tackles, 6 combined, 2 solo, a PBU, a fumble recovery, and then only allowed 2 catches on 4 targets for 11 yards. A 78.2 coverage grade from PFF. I went into the tape on this one because I
Mm.
wanted it to give it to Jordan Love just for beating the Bears and doing everything I asked him to week one and coming into the season. Ultimately though, the I watched the all 22 tape and it was pretty good. He was all over his receivers and just in on every play. I didn't really see any sort of misplays by him. So very important when you're going up against like Darnell Mooney. Like he's not a nothing receiver, and if you're
No.
getting a lot of good zone reads too from him, is like making sure he's passing everything off properly. So all in all, really good from him, and I know that you had mentioned that as well.
Yeah, I thought again. I went into probably after Sunday after we recorded, It's gonna be Jordan Love, and there's a lot of stats to back that up. He had the highest passer rating of all quarterbacks in Week 1, which is crazy. But I also was thinking, well, this is a very defense dominant performance, and kind of blend what you saw during the game, what you saw after the game, what you see on PFF because it's the Bible of everything. Not that it's the end all be all,
Hmm.
but you see all these things. Rasul Douglas Gurria really well in PFF across the board. And I was kind of thinking to myself, well, yeah, he did really well. Like you're watching live and uh he's in every play. He's really his tackling was really great. Like he limited big plays. I think I forget who I can credit here, but I saw explosive plays for Week 1. Bears had
Oh
7,
yeah,
and Packers I think had 7. I think it was like a horse apiece, really.
yeah. I think
Um,
for sure the Packers had 7. I'm trying to find because I think we posted it in the Discord. Please go join the Discord.
yes,
GSPN.info. This is from a man named Arjun Menon. I apologize if I pronounced your name wrong if you are listening. Um, Most explosive plays allowed during the 2023 season. The Bears allowed 7, as did the Packers, but um, only 4 of the nature in the passing game. So,
yeah, yeah. I thought it was. I probably lean more towards defense, just given that it was a complete performance.
hmm,
I mean, they limited bit. I know it was 20 points in the end, but like it when it was a game, it was really a 14.
yeah,
Uh, we were giving up 14 points before things got out of hand. And yeah, Russell Douglas really good. I thought between him and Jair, he was more kind of his presence was more felt. Not that Jair was bad, because you're not going to be when that whole defense is locked in step with one another.
right, exactly. I think it kind of speaks to the point that we were looking for something exciting out of Joe Barry and the defense coming into week 1. So, with all that being said, I think we are appropriate in that 2 of the cheeses go to defensive players just because like
Yeah,
holding them to the field goals early on when it was still 7-0 and 7-3 and 7-6 very important to make sure that didn't turn into a 14-7 deficit quite quickly. But yeah, just all in all, good performance by the defense, particularly Devontae Wyatt and Russell Douglas. So,
yep.
all right. Now, should we enter into the realm of Atlanta football, Atlanta Falcons football? It's caw, caw. There, I did my best U impression.
Let's do it.
As I mentioned earlier, Falcons also want to know after beating the Carolina Panthers week 1, mostly led behind Defensive Player of the Week, Jesse Bates, who we had pined for in free agency this offseason because the Packers needed safety help, and by golly, it looks like he would have been a good fit. But so far, nothing, I guess, no love lost at this exact moment with Darnell Savage and Rudy Ford after week 1. But going into the week, we got an injury report to, I guess, report. The Packers DMPs for David Bakhtiari, which is, again, predictable. Aaron Jones and Christian Watson. Um, Worrisome for Christian Watson, obviously, because that's now 5 days of practice he's missed in a row. And we'll see about about today, as you listen to this on Friday's practice and what it looks like. Aaron Jones, I'm not too concerned about. He obviously pulled his hammy in the game against Chicago, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're just letting him take it easy before the game because he's a veteran. He knows the offense. I'm not really too concerned about him not
It was a
practicing.
bite,
Right.
as he said, not a pull.
Yep. So they might keep him out just to keep him healthy for the year, but I could also see them just running him limited tomorrow, and he's good to go on Sunday.
I believe there was a game last year where he did have a hamstring injury. I think it was against the Bears, the away game late in the season,
Mm-hmm.
and he played very little. Like he had,
Oh,
like
I
was
do
just
remember
not
that.
featured much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Was that the game in Chicago?
it was.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and yeah, like I think that's the best case scenario if he doesn't practice and they want to keep things very on the conservative side, very cautious and everything like that. Still not great, and it does kind of present a problem of like you don't want to lean on him too much. Like it, that's where it gets really tough of like his usage or how much he's on the field if he does end up playing.
Right. I think it would look um a lot like Sunday's game against Chicago, where he plays if he's feeling okay, but maybe not as much. Kind of like how they didn't really include him much in the first half, and then once he got hurt, it is kept him out because the game was out of hand. I could see them approaching it similarly, where they might use him in the first few drives, and then it's kind of the AJ Dillon show again, which I wouldn't be the hugest fan of, but for the case of safety, but just what happened, safety, and I guess Aaron Jones' health might just be what has to happen. But here's to hoping he's just fine and they're being precautious in practice.
Mm-hmm.
I think worth talking about for David Bakhtiari is that we should talk about Aaron Rodgers' injury on turf and the Meadowlands, even though I don't think it's called that anymore.
MetLife.
MetLife Stadium, thank you. Um, Rodgers famously tearing his Achilles, like the fifth play or the fourth play of their game on Monday. Dave Bakhtiari goes on Twitter and starts being very mad about, justifiably so, about turf versus natural grass fields
Mm-hmm.
and the propensity of turf to be causing more injuries to sports players versus the natural grass field. And so this weekend the Packers play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, which is a turf field, and we might it's something worth watching. I think Tommy in the Discord mentioned this early on that they're watching to see if he might even play. He didn't play a whole lot last year at Ford Field when they have a turf field, and I I forget if that's when Bakhtiari actually did hurt himself. It was like on a turf field,
No,
but I forget. Or do you know?
not originally. That was during practice,
Mm, okay.
but that could have been inside, which I believe would be turf.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, because they were going to eventually, and then he was going to make his comeback against the Lions in the 21 year, and I don't think he ended up doing it. Things are very murky with how he came back just
Yeah.
because it's been like so stop and start kind of thing
Yeah.
until, last year. Um, yeah, it's very relevant because I mean he's been talking about this for a long time. It's basically since going through everything that he's gone through, and it's very valid. It's justified. There's reason whatever is being hawked by the owners of the NFL of use of natural grass or field turf or whatever it is called now because it's a hodgepodge of all these different names now. Um, yeah, they should play. They they replace the grass for when they have friendlies, if it's at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami or MetLife Stadium in New York. Like it's just like okay, with you know what I mean. But yeah, I would be shocked if he does end up sitting, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities here, just because of the nature of his injury, the history of all these kind of injuries happening. Um, yeah, it's one worth keeping an eye on or watching as we get up to noon on Sunday.
I don't even think I'd be shocked if he sat. Like, if there's one thing we know David Bakhtiari to be, it's
He sticks to his
steadfast in his
guns.
steadfast in his opinions, and he sticks to his guns. Like, he's I could see him sitting and discussing it with the Packers training staff, being like, "Hey, I'm not comfortable playing on this, and like, I'm all pro. Like, you guys need me. Like, I don't know what the discussion would be or how the conversation would go, but I think it would definitely be it would for sure be a headline of the NFL day on Sunday. But
So what?
I don't think I'd be shocked, truthfully. Like, I think the Packers would be comfortable enough letting him sit if that's what he really believes and assessing it further in the future. But They have Zach Tom that can throw at left tackle. Um,
Dude, Walker.
yep, or throw um, Josh Nyman back at right tackle if Zach Tom moves over. They have options to make this work and sort of shuffle that line around on Sunday if things aren't working. Like say like you said, they start Rasheed Walker at left tackle and then keep Tom at right. Well, if Walker's getting beat a whole bunch, they might move Tom over and put Nyman in. They have options to do this, and so I definitely think it's something that's probably being considered at the Packers facility right now.
Yeah.
So something to watch for sure, for sure, for sure. Trying to think of where we left off. Limited in participation in practice on Wednesday and Thursday was Elton Jenkins, Romeo Dobbs, Rashawn Gary, Quay Walker, and Daniel Whalen. Quay was a DNP on Wednesday with his concussion and limited on Thursday. I think if he was limited, that means he's out of protocol.
Yeah, I would assume.
So I'd assume so. And then a full participant was Anthony Johnson Jr., who was a full participant both days in practice. For the Falcons, DNP both days was linebacker Troy Anderson. Limited either Wednesday or Thursday was Jeff Okudah. They acquired him from the Lions, right, for like a seventh rounder or
Yes, over
something.
the summer. Yep.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
something real cheap.
It's kind of like a challenge trade of like, here, we'll take up, or not challenge trade. Was it buy low trade?
Yeah, by low.
Some cost kind of dealio.
Yeah, which I understand. Like Jeff Okudah, big prospect coming out of college. I think he was
Fair.
fourth out of
He was the
overall.
third overall pick.
Third?
Oh yeah.
I knew he was high, but I just gave him a little less credit at 4. So yeah, obviously, hopefully, I should say hopefully, but like you said, buy low chance at Jeff Okudah, but he was a limited participant in practice for them on I think Thursday, but I'm failing to find the actual injury report right now. Oh, here it is. My apologies. Jeff Okudah was a limited participant both days. So, and then full participant was running back Cordarrelle Patterson. Interesting to see how they'll use him. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But upgraded was Calais Campbell and Jonnu Smith. Maybe they'll use Jonnu Smith a little bit more than they do Kyle Pitts. But yeah, Jonnu Smith was DNP for that rest for him and Calais Campbell on Wednesday. With all that being said, should we hop into this matchup, Jordan? Because I think it's going to be a powerful
I'm
one.
very excited.
Yeah?
I'm very excited.
What makes you so excited? What are you so excited for this game for? Because to preface it for everybody, just a NFC matchup, not a divisional rival. Like there's some history. Packers are 19-16 against the Falcons all time, with having won the last 2. But other than that, there's not really beef or anything. So
no.
what are you
no.
excited about? What's getting your engines revving for the Falcons Falcons Packers game on Sunday?
I think both teams are in a very similar position. I think they're very built very similarly as well. The coaches know each other. They coach with one another. Matt LaFleur was the offensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans when he got the job to come to Green Bay. Arthur Smith, son of FedEx founder. Did you know that?
Not until you said it in our group chat right before this. I did not know
He's
that.
the son of Mr. FedEx.
Mr.
I forget
FedEx himself.
I think his dad's name was like Rick or something.
Frederick W. Smith.
Frederick. Sorry, I was forgetting the Fred part of Rick.
I can't always give a free ad to FedEx. Oh my god, I hate myself.
Sorry.
UPS better. Anyways.
Arthur Smith took over for Matt LaFleur when Matt LaFleur left for Green Bay. So I think there's a lot of core tenets that both teams are share. I think personnel wise, there's a lot to be kind of gleaned from like how both teams are built. And obviously both the teams are coming off a very strong, more so for the Packers than the Falcons, but both week 1 victories, and defense carried them in both of them. So it's going to be, I won't tip my prediction yet, but it might be a little bit of a dogfight on Sunday, especially if Aaron Jones is limited and Christian Watson misses another game. So Yeah, that's where I'm kind of excited.
Well, yeah, understandably, like the Falcons beat the Panthers 24-10 behind a strong defense and a strong run game. And I think that's kind of the exact profile, as you were alluding to, that the Packers had. They won handedly against the Bears behind a strong defense and a strong run game.
Hmm.
I think the difference becomes, excuse me, the passing game. Desmond Ritter was
Oh, dear Lord,
I'm
dear
not
Lord.
I'm not really sure his future with the team. Like I struggle to see a reality in where they just don't throw Taylor Heineke in there and give him credit. 15 for 18, 115 passing yards and one touchdown. But man alive, like that, he just doesn't look like a NFL ready quarterback at times. He didn't a whole lot last year either.
No, this is my little stat corner. Are you ready?
Yep, go for it.
91 air yards. So air yards are the yards traveled to before a receiver, tight end, running back, whatever, catches the ball.
Right.
That's for the entire game. 91. Actually, no, I am missing that. I'm screwed that up right now. Where is it? 75. Sorry, that number is 75. Pardon me. Only Zach Wilson, Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, and Joe Burrow had fewer air passing yards than Desmond Ritter this in week one.
For what it's worth, Joel Burrow was playing in the rain. Like
Yes,
Desmond Ritter was at
the
home
Falcons were playing in a
in a dome.
dome.
Yeah. Do you have
That's
do you have loves up for comparison? I'm curious.
oh, that's a good shot right there. Let me bring it up right now.
That's fine. I'll let you. Well, I'll vamp while you do that. But yeah, the passing attack for
Jordan Love is only at 108.
still that's better.
Justin Fields is 94.
There you go. There you go.
Also, that's I mean, when you're in control of the game, you're not going to be taking
Deep
deep
shots.
shots and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, it is game dependent, but yeah, it was just look diving into the Falcons passing attack and everything like that. Desmond Ritter had one catch. He caught his own ball. Drake London did not, who's their projected leading wide
Well,
receiver.
yeah,
Going to
he
the
is their wide receiver one, and
yeah.
notably, Kyle Pitts didn't even get a catch. I don't think he got I think he got a target, but
He
didn't
got a
get
catch. He had kind of like the game ceiling. It was like a 38-yard bomb.
okay.
Yeah.
Regardless, they spent a top. I think it was the fifth pick on Kyle Pitts. I'm pretty sure he was pick five.
If not higher.
Yeah, if not higher. I know.
It might have been 4.
Um, and he was supposed to be all that in a bag of chips at the tight end position. Um, where what fourth overall in 20 holy moly 2021 he was the fourth overall pick, and for his career in 2 years he has under 100 receptions, like 50-ish a year for a guy that you drafted that high. It just isn't enough, frankly. And I think it's the coaching. It is for sure the coaching staff's fault for not feeding him the ball as much as they
Facts.
should. Like in his rookie year, they did fine, 110 targets. I think that's an appropriate amount of targets for a rookie tight end. Notably, tight ends not having always the most
A
glamorous,
generational tight
a
end.
generational tight end is what he was
Yes.
projected as, and like 110, he had 1,000 yards his rookie year. Like he's a good ball player. And from there, I've had this rant queued for a while because I
I know,
can't
I
stand
love
the
it.
Falcons offense. Played 10 games last year and had 60 to 59 targets. And it just boggles my mind.
They were also like I think 8 and 9, 7 and 10. Like they had a respectable season.
Yeah. And
But
like
like, how does that exist within that?
he just isn't a feature part of the offense when he 1,000% should be a feature part of their offense. Like they should just be feeding him the ball, and they don't,
Yeah.
which makes them look spending the fourth overall pick on a tight end
Arthur Smith was there too. Like
goofy. Yeah, that's what it doesn't make sense. The coach was there. He drafted the guy. It makes no sense. I'm just curious. So after Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Penei Sewell,
Yeah.
Devonta Smith, Justin Fields
Yeah.
if they really wanted a quarterback, Mac Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, like Najee Harris if they wanted another running back. Like that's just a couple off just reading the first round, and all of those guys are having successful careers outside of Atlanta. Obviously, I think if they would actually try to use Kyle Pitts, like they would use a Jamar Chase, like they would use a Jalen Waddle, like they would use a Devonta Smith, their offense might look a whole lot better, frankly. But in case you've ever looked at a picture of Arthur Smith, he looks like he likes to run the ball. That mustache is doing the passing game no effing favors.
Yeah, he's a throwback to a different era.
That's right.
Hmm.
I got fired up over that.
Cut to Kyle Pitts having 300 passing.
You know what, dude?
Yards
You know what, dude? I would welcome it. Because it is a total disservice to that man to be putting him in that role as he does.
True.
Like, we don't want to do week one overreactions, but man alive. It's just not good. Three targets and 2 receptions. He just has to be a more featured part of the offense. He just does.
I think I read too it was like mid to late third quarter where the Falcons attempted their first pass over 20 yards.
Yeah, it's just a rough offense, but
It's a weird. But then
I shouldn't even okay. Right, it's not a rough offense. It is a rushing offense.
We have that.
Right.
There's that. But then there's Bijan Robinson, who might just like if it's the Packers of old, we come into this week scared shitless that this guy is going to dance all over Dean Lowry. He's not on the team anymore, but he's like this figure that just exists when bad run defense just dances all over the Packers defense.
Right.
Which is possible because he has that big play of potential. His first rushing NFL touchdown was super. Or, no, it was actually not a rushing.
His first touchdown was a screen pass, and it was disgusting.
Disgusting. This guy is like a super athlete freak that can do damage just getting the ball in mere seconds. So
coming out
that exists.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, you go. You go.
Fine, I'll go.
Go. Yeah.
His last year at Texas, he had 1,900 yards from scrimmage, 1,600 yards of those on the ground, and 20 touchdowns, 18 on the ground, 2 through the air. Just a simply bonkers season. Just certifiably bonkers. And he's got the talent, like you said, to have a all-time day against any defense. In particular, a defense that, like the Packers, is still, I'm not going to say on suspect watch because they did fine last week, but this will be their first test, truthfully, because between Bijan Robinson being an absolute stud rookie coming out of Texas this year, they also have Tyler Allgeier, who was their rookie running back last year. Tyler Allgeier last year, 1,000 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. But again, 1,000 yards as a rookie, as a running back, is good. He also had 139 receiving yards. So they have I want to say 2-headed monster.
Yeah, it is.
But it's technically 3.
Yes.
Cordarrelle Patterson went just as bonkers as Bijan Robinson did as a college student, as Cordarrelle Patterson did as the Falcons' lead running back last year. Like, they just have an absolute crazy amount of talent at the running back position that again, I just went on the rant about Kyle Pitts in the passing game. You can't fault them for rushing it as much as they do. But the difference is if they run it like they do, why not pass it more? Like, why not just pound the ball over and 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 over again? And then just take the shots with the ball because they're going to have to prepare for the run game. The play action, it would be so crazy if they even wanted to run it. I think we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Mhm.
I'm not a player to watch. A thing to watch is if they
Yeah.
ever institute any sort of play action, because I think any defense would be silly not to sell for the run on a play action pass.
Yeah. I mean, the thing too, again, not to keep hitting this note, but Arthur Smith and Matt LaFleur know each other. They
Right.
know what they want to do. It's very easy to kind of like, oh, I know your tricks. Yeah, I mean, like it's very easy from our point of view to just say something like that. But that really is in play here. That's why I think it is going to be very tight, tightly contested, hotly contested.
Right.
And yeah, like again, they at least have a two-headed running attack, 86 yards after contact last week
That's
against Carolina
between the both of them, or
between the both,
wow.
which again, not just Packers of old of just being run defense. If the Packers, how we have their tackling has been historically, this could be a really tough test.
Yeah,
Last week was really good. Like
they
they
tackled well last week.
they tackled really well. It was very sound, fundamental. Again, 7 explosive plays last week against the Bears kind of points to not really letting you get gashed in that way, especially running the ball.
Hmm.
Again, this is going to be a different beast because
Yeah.
that combo and plus whatever usage Cordell Patterson will have could really test the Packers that way. And then, yeah, if the Falcons ever know how to pass the ball, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely going to be something something for sure to watch. But I think like going to that as well, start moving on to like the next point is that the Falcons, the offensive line isn't that good. Like as a pass
No,
blocking unit, they had the fifth worst grade from PFF last year or last week. Holy moly, at 44.9. Like that's not good. There was a couple of clips flying around Twitter of Desmond Ritter not having a whole lot of time to throw the ball, which I don't think is the reason they're not throwing the ball. To go back to the point earlier, I just think they just don't want to. But Panthers, I think linebacker, right? Brian Burns, I think he's a linebacker.
edge,
Edge
linebacker,
linebacker.
whatever you want to call it.
Had 2 sacks on 4 pressures and a forced fumble last week. So there's opportunity for some eating here from the Packers defensive line.
Yeah, I think not that it's where this is always going to go. There's the keys of like, okay, whoever generates the most turnovers likely will win the game. Whoever wins the battles on the ground, in the trenches, whatever cliche you want to use, will likely win. Whoever gets the quarterback as much as or more than the other team will likely win. I would say the Packers have an edge there, pardon the pun, because of just what we saw them creating havoc against a similarly suspect offensive line in the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I again, it'll be interesting to see who kind of gets punched first, because then you have to kind of adapt your game plan. Like again, the Falcons really. It's not that they breezed to a win, but it was pretty comfortable. Like it
Yeah.
was not like I think the Panthers threatened like in the third quarter of Sunday, but then turnovers in the Falcons' favor really blew up in that game. Jesse Bates, we'll get into later. He's gonna be a problem. That much is clear.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the fact that the Packers have so many options on the edge, Devontae White and Kenny Clark,
Mm-hmm.
maybe TJ Slayton gets in there too. Carl Brooks,
Well,
two rookies had
all of the interior defensive line.
yeah, all the interior of offensive or defensive linemen um, have the capability to really pulverize offensive lines
Mm-hmm.
with regularity,
Mm-hmm.
and that is very, very thrilling to see because it's been a while. Like we've had like star pass rushers the last couple of years, but it's not been like a unit where it's like this could be a whole level of disruptive in a very good way for the Packers.
Right. Yeah, I think the biggest thing I'm looking for from the defense is just being able to stuff the holes in the offensive line. Like I think there's going to be a lot of significant passes and runs outside of the tackles from the Falcons this week because getting Bijan Robinson in space is going to be important for that offense because he is just so dynamic and so quick with his feet to make guys miss. But I think first and foremost, you just got to stop the run between the tackles. At that point, if you can do that, you're probably in a pretty good place defensively. But yeah, I think the corners will have their work cut out for them, trying to navigate Bijan screens, Tyler Allgeier like pitches off tackles. I think it'll be an interesting week to see how that entire box plays. So basically, Razul, Jair, the entire defensive line, and then like Quay.
Yeah, basically, it's like the second level of
Yep. Right,
defense,
exactly.
and then you have your safeties. That's yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into more of that probably later. We'll see.
um so I think that is enough on the defense. Is there anything else defensive that you want to talk about?
For Packers,
Yeah, for like Packers defense, Falcons offense sort of discussion.
yeah. Just because again, we not that we trash the Falcons passing offense, but we would like to.
Oh, I
Like
trashed them.
I know, but they have to prove it, and then we'll believe it, kind of thing that they can
Right.
are a competent offense that
Yeah.
way.
Right, exactly.
And I think having Jair and Razul um, is going to really help limiting on the boundaries. And then if Darnell Savage plays like how he did in Week 1, which not really guaranteeing because we know this Darnell Savage experience. Um, yeah, he's going to loom large there too because he's going to be key in limiting big plays too.
right. Worth noting that Arthur Smith did tell media this week that he's hinting at more targets for Pitts in London. So we'll see. Notably, Jair will be on Drake London, most likely, I'd assume.
Yeah.
But last week, Razul drew Cole Kmet almost the entire game. I should say almost the entire game, but a good chunk of the game he was on Cole
Barely in
Kmet.
red zone situations that second quarter drive.
Yep. So we'll see if who gets Kyle Pitts. I think he's a pretty athletic, just dude. I could see Jair going up against him. I think Jair might be a little too short just to go with them. I think Russell's a little bigger than Jair, which is just being able to match up that little bit better against them. But we'll see. Either way, I think they'll be important to make sure that they hold their own. So, with that being said, should we move on to the offense, the Packers
Yes.
offense?
Yes.
Let's hope Romeo Doubs can play because I frankly don't want to see. I mean, even if Christian Watson could play too, that'd be super helpful. I don't want to see Samari Toure trying to line up against AJ Terrell, who had a fantastic week 1, only allowing 0 completions on 4 targets and a 39.6 passer rating when he was thrown against by Bryce Young. Like, all of that being said, it's Bryce Young. If I guess you want to call Terrence Marshall the starting wideout, Chark I think is there too. DJ Chark is probably
Jonathan Mingo.
Jonathan Mingo. Like these aren't game breaking wide
Adam
receivers.
Thielen.
I sure these aren't game breaking wide receivers that he had to go up against, but that's still pretty impressive. Like it's still a pretty good day from AJ Terrell, and the Falcons had the 3rd highest coverage grade in Week 1 according to PFF, or I guess by PFF's rating. So it'll take the whole crew again in the passing game between Aaron Jones if he plays, Dobbs if he plays, which I'm sure he will, Musgrave, Jaden Reed.
Jaden Reed.
Glad I didn't see him crop up on the injury report. That's like I know we
Yes.
said it was cramps, but I'm glad it wasn't like a lingering thing.
Yeah. He could be really big on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
especially no Watson.
Limited Dobbs, if
he had
anything.
Limited Dobbs, or not as limited as Week 1, but certainly limited in terms of the whole. Um, Yeah, I liked what we saw week one. I thought it was a solid debut, if not like overwhelming. But yeah, like again, the Atlanta quarterbacks, specifically AJ Terrell, really good. Jesse Bates was the week one NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Two interceptions, I think like 10 tackles and a forced fumble.
The two interceptions couldn't have been more mirrored.
Yeah,
They were the exact same throw that he
yeah,
picked it off, which like credit to him, he made the play both times, but it was a tough look for first game for Bryce Young.
yeah. He kind of is the quarterback of the, not kind of, he is the Falcons quarterback of the defense. And I think for Love, especially, be able to diagnose where he is and finding these windows that are going to be there in mere like moments, like
Mm-hmm.
they're like pictures almost like snapshots. That's the mark of like, oh, you have figured it out. Like I know you're probably not going to hear from us this way, but you're going to hear about it going up into the game, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
pregame, during the game, whatever. People are going to treat Jordan Love like a rookie quarterback until he's not. And he's not a rookie quarterback, but we know that just because he has not played really until this year
Right.
and started and all that stuff, he has to go through this gauntlet of like, okay, you figured that out. Oh, like, here's three more things. Here are blitzes, here are coverage, different coverages, and all that stuff. That is part of the experience of having a new starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. But again, Jordan Love isn't just a normal guy that a rookie quarterback like Bryce Young. So there's probably going to be like a lot of comparisons, whether he is close to Bryce Young and all that stuff. Pay no mind to it. Just watch the game and see how he does in those situations because I think he has at least more of the aptitude and experience of seeing what's on film, seeing how teams play. It's not like last week when we're like, oh, maybe this is how it is. The Bears are openly talking about like we don't really know what the Packers are going to do, and they threw a lot out there, just judging by the many Packers followers I see on X. Um, but yeah, I think that for me is going to be very interesting to see of like, hey, you nearly aced week one. Didn't have a complete game, but three-fourths of it was pretty good. What is it going to be like going against an all-pro level safety who is going to be everywhere at all at once? Not to just throw out that movie title, but like that's what it felt like watching those mistakes for Bryce Young, or like just seeing how the Falcons defense plays in general. Because
Mm-hmm.
Jesse Bates is the guy that he's the straw that stirs the drink and can really disrupt plays in just mere moments. So Jordan Love has a lot to kind of adapt to on the fly going into Sunday with something like that.
Right.
Waiting for him.
Right, absolutely. And I think his pocket will be a lot less clean and neat as it was on Sunday against the Bears. The Falcons front is incredible. It's got Calais Campbell, who signed there after being, I believe, cut from the Ravens this past offseason. They have David Onyemata, who is a former Saint, I believe. Grady Jarrett is still Grady Jarrett, having a
Mhm.
wonderful career down there. He kind of had a tough 21, but he played very well in 22 and has started off pretty well in 2023. So he's still a force on the inside. It's just it's a tough gig. It's a tough gig. They have Bud Dupree as a linebacker, sort of veteran. It's a tough defense. Like I think it's going to be a little messier in that pocket than it was against the Bears, and so that lines up with what the Packers offensive line needs to step up again this week. I think Josh Myers will be hugely important. I think you'll see a lot of
Mhm.
AJ Dillon and possibly either it's Patrick Taylor or Emmanuel Wilson or whomever that isn't Aaron Jones if Aaron
All
Jones doesn't
three.
play. Honestly, all four, whoever they decide to make for the active 51,
Yeah.
just chipping guys that come through the A gaps in the line because Josh Myers had a fine week last week, but he is the weakest link on this defense or on this offensive line, I believe. And Grady Jarrett and David Onyemata and Calais Campbell are going to make life hard for him. And
Yeah.
so it'll
How
be.
we talk about the Packers defensive line still ascending, even though Kenny Clark is very established at this point. Falcons have three guys right there,
Mm-hmm.
and those guys are tough. I think David Onyemata, perusing through PFF, he was second in pass rush win rate behind Rashawn Gary, and Onyemata was played more snaps with Rashawn Gary. So like
Right.
it's a very different kind of win rate right there, which is again just speaks to how much they got to the Panthers line and Bryce Young too.
Right. Exactly. So I think there'll be a lot of quick stuff this week. I think to start from Jordan Love and the Packers, just to see what this line looks like and how they're sort of getting home if they are. I think honestly the game plan will look a lot like it did against the Bears last week. Just trying to,
Yeah,
feel out the game as it's progressing, taking some shots downfield when they can. But if they don't have Christian Watson again, which is a really big loss for them, to stretch the field and take shots down the field like that, it'll be an interesting offensive scheme on Monday or on Sunday for sure.
hmm
Trying to think of who else is important here. Luke Musgrave. We'll see how he progresses as his second game. Maybe he'll learn how to run.
that would be helpful.
It would be helpful. Maybe don't
Um,
turn around and backpedal on some catches. Maybe turn the hips, just as an idea.
who else? Who else?
I think that's
Um,
honestly really it. Like, it's just gonna be the two guys we already talked about, Jordan Love and Jaden Reed, for sure.
mm,
Because I think I would be surprised if they threw AJ Terrell and Jaden Reed. Frankly, he'll probably be on Dobbs when he's in. But
yeah, Dobbs probably or a combination of Toure, Wicks,
yeah,
um,
Heath.
Heath. Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
would
Yeah,
love to see Malik Heath week. That'd be cool.
yeah. Any of the rookie wideouts or Samari Toure. I know he's not a rookie, but kind of. He's 1.5.
Right.
Um, um, I mean, if anybody wants to have a ball out game kind
Hmm.
of thing like that, make a play. It doesn't even have to be a full game. It could be a
Yeah.
play. This game is going to come down to like these rare plays that happen, and I could be full of shit right now, and it blows up in my face. But like,
Right.
it just has that kind of vibe of like,
Oh yeah.
especially without Aaron Jones, if he is limited in
Hmm.
full or in a lot of ways, and Christian Watson, just Christian Watson too. Like, I think not a lot got played up about not having Christian Watson in week one because of just the result.
Right.
But like that plugged up a lot of the early kind of like whatever we want to call the not the first drive, but like the ensuing first quarter drive or first half drives of just like there's an option, there's a what? Like, why are we doing that with AJ Dillon? Like, a
Hmm.
lot of that stuff of just like not having a deep threat that can kind of draw out and distort defenses in a lot of ways. That's gonna be really tough against a Falcon secondary that again I think it could be like up there with the most disruptive in the league, even if the rest of the team isn't as well or as good.
Yeah. No, I strong agree on that point. Definitely strong agree. We'll see. Yeah, I think somebody go make a play. I'd be happy to see anybody go make a play. And
Yep.
I agree with you in full throatedly that this game will be, I think, tighter than we expect it to be. Like, I don't think
Yep.
anyone's predicting the Falcons to win the NFC South. It should be comfortably the Saints, in my opinion. But I mean, even the Bucks last week beat the Vikings. NFC South is 3-1,
The only team that lost is Andrew Snyder's Panthers.
and they lost to the Falcons. So like, it's,
Yeah.
one of them had to lose. So
Yeah.
I guess in totality, they're doing fine so far. The Saints beat the Titans, I believe, at home,
Yes.
and so all in all, it's not too bad. We'll see. We'll definitely see. I think, like I said, I think it's gonna be tight. It'll be tighter than we think.
Yeah.
That
Players to
being,
watch?
yeah, it's like that being said, I think we should transition into
Sorry.
players to watch and score predictions. You went first last week.
I did. That's
I'm
right. Yeah.
I'm going first this week. Or do we do two each now, or we do one 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 one
We can do
one one?
whatever. It doesn't matter.
Okay, okay, okay. Um, my two players to watch are going to be uh, Kyle Pitts and Romeo Dobbs. The hopefully number one um, passing attack players for both teams respectively. I think if Romeo Dobbs plays, he's going to be obviously a critically important player, and hopefully he can play to his full ability and not be limited. But if they really are, unless Arthur Smith is blowing smoke up the Packers coaching staff's rear ends, in that they're actually going to try and weave more throws into Kyle Pitts and try and get him more involved in the passing game, then I could see that. Not I don't want to say like having a career day because that's not fair to Razul or Jair, whoever covers them. But he's athletic as hell, dude. Like he's just good. He has all the makings for what should be a great tight end, like receiving tight end, 6'6", 250. Like he's just a large human who's able to go up and get balls. And so, yeah, for all intents and purposes, he really should be a guy we should be watching out for. If the Falcons want to use him that way, it is yet to be seen.
I'm very torn because I have multiple guys just buzzing around for the Packers, but I think I am going to settle on this man's name. AJ Dillon.
Wow.
A lot of angst. A lot of angst from Packers fans after week one. It was not a great game. Let's go through it. 13 carries, 19 yards, long of 7 yards on the ground. 3 targets, 2 catches, 8 yards. Yeah, like I think Andy Herman, I believe it was him, talked about how AJ Dillon historically, this is his 4th year, has started slow when he's got a more pronounced role. That is fine. The difference is he is going to probably have the lion's share of touches with Aaron Jones, whatever's going on, whether he plays. I don't need to keep having or to do this caveat,
Right.
but you know what I mean. AJ Dillon's going to be featured a lot, and the Falcons know that. Like if Packers again, if they play the way that they are setting out to play, AJ Dillon's going to be a large part of that. Again, it's going to be based on what he sees in front of him, and it's very different what Aaron Jones sees in front of him versus AJ Dillon. That being said, I just want to see a good game out of him. It doesn't have to be flashy. It could just be you get like 20 carries and it's 50 yards, but it's in a like you're getting home in the end zone. You're catching some screens and making plays that way. Like I think at this point, because it is such a make or break year, literally he could not be a Packer after this year. There's just going to be a lot. It's going to be riding that way with AJ Dillon, especially again too after last year too. That I think it makes it hard to kind of like you just know you're on the roller coaster with him. And he's a good player. He's a very situational player. He's not like a 1A. It's not a 1A, 1B situation. Aaron Jones is the elite running back here if we're talking about it. AJ Dillon could, in a very long shot way, be like that, but he's going to be in the league for a very long time. And I just would like to see him kind of just have this breakout performance that could really carry the Packers offense in a big way, because if things go according to plan, they're going to have the ball a lot and they're going to be milking a lot of clock and they're going to be earning 3 to 4 yards every time AJ Dillon gets the ball.
Yeah, I think there definitely is a reality in which AJ Dillon is a 1B type of running back, but he just I guess isn't at this point. I think pretty solidly just not there, and we haven't seen it since that 2021 season. If he can get back to 2021 form with the, I guess, I don't want to say advancements, but just knowing and progressing as a running back and getting sort of that veteran leadership in there and building on his game from what it was in 21, I think he can be that. I just think, like you said, we're a long way off right now.
And I don't think it's that much of a shock that a guy that's very inside the box he's not an Aaron Jones. No one, very few are, but he's not. He's an old school running back. He's a guy that just plugs through these A gaps. It's within the offensive line, and if you're trying to find the gaps that way, and you're relying on guys like Josh, the interior offensive linemen, who are the most suspect on this in the line, save for obviously Elton Jenkins. That matters. That does matter in what he sees versus what Aaron Jones sees. But it's obviously different when AJ Dillon, they're trying to do these things where he's running outside the tackles or he's doing screen games. He's an excellent pass blocker, or has gotten better in that way at least. But like he's just not, it's not the same utility or like variety that we see with Aaron Jones. He's an old school guy with when it comes to running the ball. And that does hurt him in that sense of just how the Packers play.
Right. And like being the head down north and south running back for him and
Yeah.
being like how strong he is, he should be a guy breaking a lot of tackles. And in 21 he was. He had 17 broken tackles in 2021. Averaging 11 attempts per broken tackle. And so but last year he had 6. And on 180
And there was a big, sorry to cut you off. There's a big thing about LaFleur and him we're talking about that he's running too high.
right.
So that they're making a concerted effort to get lower to the ground, fight for those extra yardage, the kind of thing that he's Quadzilla for God's sakes. Like that is what his calling card is. And yeah, like that was very apparent last year. And in week one it's hard to tell what was really an issue here, but what can be said is that he just was not a lot was going for him regardless.
Right. So 17 broken tackles in 21, 6 last year. 31
Yeah.
attempts per broken tackle last year. Like, and he had one snap or I guess one attempt difference in each year. He had 187 in 21, 186 in 22. And so like the efficiency just went way down in that regard,
Yeah.
which is what they need him to be. They need him to be that
Yes.
bruiser late in games, late in season, which, like you said, was it Zach Cruz or Andy Herman on Twitter? Like mentioned, like as the season goes on, AJ Dillon gets better, but
Yeah.
we can't. And it's not like we can't, as if we are in a Super Bowl contention sort of place, but just as a successful football team, we need him to be better at this point in the season, just in general. Like he can come on late in the season all he wants. He just needs to be better early on in the season to make it worth it for the Packers, essentially.
And in reality too, like all that is considered and it's those are perfect points to make. It goes out the window when he's the number one running back. If Aaron
Exactly.
Jones doesn't play at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean like we're just talking about how can the Packers get to 2 now? Really, yeah, I mean, like it
Right.
is. It. I agree with you. It's not like we're talking about this is the Super Bowl game. Them and the Falcons, obviously, that wouldn't happen. But like, it's a very different conversation when it's just like, guy's gonna be the number one running back. He's gonna get the ball a lot. Let's just see him move it for more than just 2 yards at a time.
Right. No, I'm right there with you. So
Yeah,
that was your first player to watch. Do you have a second one?
that took me 10 minutes. Jesse Bates.
Yeah.
Jesse Bates. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. Coming off a really good game against Panthers. He was their big free agent splash guy that Numac and I really wanted, especially considering all the questions at safety for the Packers. Week one suddenly lived up to the contract that he got over the offseason, and he's going to live up to it, provided that he's healthy moving forward. And yeah, was disruptive in week one, got 2 picks. I believe that was the first time he's had more than 1 pick in an NFL game, if my reading was correct. And yeah, I think he has the potential to really terrorize Jordan Love and just what they're seeing, what they're going to look on the sidelines after drive. Yeah, it's obvious he's the number one with the bullet in terms of or the Atlanta defense.
Right. Yeah. Spot on. Spot on. So, all right. Score predictions. Who's gonna win on Sunday, Jordan? What's the plan?
Oh, it's not great that we're talking about not being without your most dynamic wide receiver and your best offensive player. Um, who's gonna come down from this high of week one? Packers, is it the Falcons? I'm gonna go Falcons 20, Packers 17.
Falcons 20, Packers 17. A loss. Wow. Also, I'm glad you had your 5 seconds of building up the tension. I was giving you
Yeah.
about two more. I was like, I can't stand you if you're gonna do this for a whole minute.
Uh,
I'm gonna be the optimist here. I think that the despicable, horrendous, atrociously watched passing game of the Falcons is going to be their undoing against a hopefully heavy pass rush and defensive front for the Packers. I'm going to go. I still think it might be high scoring just because that run is just so crazy from the Falcons. I think it's going to be 31-27 Packers.
I would like to see that game.
So would I. That's why I predicted it.
Spoke it into existence.
That's right. I gotta make sure I get this down here. Perfect. All right, folks. That is it for us this week. Be sure to check out all of the Eurostep Podcast Network podcasts, Instagram, socials, all that stuff at gspn.info. Subscribe to, or I shouldn't say subscribe, follow us at Numac and Jordan on Twitter, at Jordan Tresky on Twitter, at Packers GSPN on Twitter, as well as at Watch GSPN on Instagram and I believe TikTok. Both of which have some reels, and obviously Instagram will have posts about the cheese board and our score predictions and things like that in the coming weeks. So, all that being said, you can find all that at gspn.info. Check out the Eurostep, the illustrious Rohan Kadi, and recently married Ty Windish dropped the episode today, Thursday, right?
Yes, Thursday.
With newest Bucks player Ty Washington Jr. They interviewed him ahead of the season, which is in I think 31 days as of this very second. I think I saw something on Twitter about that today. It was like John Henson numbers of days away until.
I think preseason.
Yeah, that's what I said. Did I say that? I thought I said preseason.
You said season.
I thought
no.
I thought I said preseason. Regardless, 31 days until the preseason. So, awesome interview from Rohan and Ty talking to Ty Washington Jr. Go check that out. It is fantastic. The Brewers took 3 or 4 from the Miami Marlins this series, so they're sitting pretty there. I think that is now 4 games up on the Cubs, if I'm not mistaken, as the season winds down.
Yeah.
I think I saw 4 after they won on my sports app, but I'm not sure if that was updated or not. But regardless, still ahead of the Cubs, ahead of their last 4 series against the Nationals starting tomorrow. Then
4.5.
4.5. The Nationals starting tomorrow, and then I think at the Cardinals, at Miami, and then the Cardinals and the Cubs again. So, winding down the regular season as the Brewers look to make that postseason push and maybe make a magical run. And Adam McGee and Andrew Snyder have you all covered on Cruising for a Bruising for that. So, but they also have you covered on Make Time for This, our Junk Drawer Pop Culture pod. Their latest episode I've never seen a fire, but Christian Petzold and Paula Beer return for a fire. So if you are a fire fan, go check it out. They do a wonderful job on that. I just listened to their Oppenheimer episode after going to see it last week. It is fantastic. So if you've got an interest in a movie or any sort of theme like horror or anything else, you can go check out all their pods that are archived from previous years in that way. And they're all still relevant because movies are timeless. So all that being said, thank you folks for listening. We'll be back with you again on Sunday and or Monday for the post-game pod against the Falcons. We appreciate you listening and subscribing. Drop a review on your listening app of choice, Spotify, Apple. Leave a comment on YouTube if you want. So you can find us a whole bunch of places. We love your feedback all which way anyways. So again, thank you for listening. And Jordan, thank You.
Thank you.